I was seeing quite often over there that her father was in the Air Force. And actually, they only got over there about 2 months before I left. I was seeing her, and she was at the airport when I left.
What if I told you that Elvis Presley's private letters hold the keys to unraveling the mystery behind his untimely death? Beyond the glitz and glamour, these intimate writings offer a chilling and revealing glimpse into the king of rock and roll's final years, exposing hidden struggles and fears that might change everything you thought you knew about his last days. Financial pressures and desperation. Elvis Presley is remembered for his lavish lifestyle, including his sprawling Graceland mansion, luxury cars, and generous gifts to friends and family. However, his private letters reveal that, behind the glitz and glamour, he was facing severe financial pressures in his later years. While Elvis earned millions throughout his career, his spending habits were extravagant, and financial mismanagement led to mounting debt. In several letters to close friends, he voiced his frustration and anxiety over money, feeling trapped by the financial obligations that came with his success. Elvis's generosity was well known, often giving away cars, homes, and jewelry to those he cared about. However, this generosity was one of the factors contributing to his financial problems. Many recipients of his gifts expected more, and as his inner circle grew, so did his expenses. Elvis also invested in ventures that drained his resources without much return, such as certain business dealings and property acquisitions that never panned out as intended. One of the lesser-known facts is that Presley was bound by rigid contracts that took a large portion of his earnings. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, negotiated deals that often left Elvis with a smaller share of the profits than most superstars would expect. In private correspondence, Presley expressed frustration over this, hinting that he felt Parker's control over his finances was contributing to his financial desperation. However, given the long-standing relationship with Parker, he felt conflicted about severing ties. By the mid-1970s, Elvis's financial woes had worsened, and he was forced to take on a grueling performance schedule, particularly in Las Vegas, to keep up with his debts. The constant pressure to generate income weighed heavily on him. These performances, while beloved by fans, were not the glamorous experience they once were for Presley. He confided in close friends that he was exhausted, both physically and emotionally, but felt he had no choice but to keep performing. In one particularly revealing letter, Presley expressed his desperation over his financial situation, saying he feared his career was in decline and that he would be remembered more for his personal problems than his musical legacy. This sense of hopelessness may have contributed to the spiral of drug dependency that ultimately worsened his health. Despite earning millions, Elvis found himself unable to escape the financial traps he had unknowingly created, leading to a situation that may have accelerated his decline. His financial troubles add yet another layer of complexity to the legend of the king of rock and roll, painting a picture of a man struggling to keep up with the towering demands of both his personal life and career. Strained relationship with Colonel Parker. Elvis Presley and Colonel Tom Parker were inseparable for much of the King's career, but behind the scenes, their relationship was far more complicated. Parker was often credited with making Elvis a global superstar, guiding his career from his early days as a rockabilly singer to a cultural icon. However, Presley's private letters reveal that their partnership was not as harmonious as it appeared to the public. Over the years, Presley grew increasingly frustrated with Parker's control over his career, feeling trapped by his manager's rigid contracts and decisions that often prioritized financial gain over creative fulfillment. In several letters to close friends and confidants, Elvis expressed his growing dissatisfaction with Parker's management style. He felt that Parker, while initially instrumental in his success, had become more focused on the financial aspects of the business rather than Presley's artistic vision. Some of the decisions Parker made, such as the infamous string of formulaic Hollywood movies in the 1960s, left Elvis feeling unfulfilled as an artist. He confided in letters that he longed to explore more serious acting roles and creative music projects, but was often forced to stick to Parker's formula, which focused on maximizing profits. One of the major points of contention between Presley and Parker was the latter's insistence on signing contracts that locked Elvis into long-term deals, particularly with Las Vegas performances. While these deals brought in a steady income, Presley felt creatively stifled. He compared his life to being a performing puppet in his letters, where every move was orchestrated by Parker to maintain financial stability. Elvis wanted to break free from this mold and explore new horizons in music and film, but Parker's influence often stood in the way. Presley's letters also reveal that, over time, he began to question Parker's loyalty and motivations. Despite their close working relationship, Elvis felt that Parker was not looking out for his best interests. He suspected that Parker's primary concern was securing large commissions for himself rather than ensuring Presley's long-term success. This suspicion created a growing rift between them, though Elvis never fully acted on it. The letters suggest that while Presley contemplated breaking away from Parker's control, he felt tied to the manager who had been with him since the beginning. Their strained relationship was compounded by the fact that Parker rarely attended to Presley's personal struggles. As Elvis's health deteriorated and his dependency on prescription drugs worsened, Parker's focus remained on the business. This lack of emotional support added to Presley's feelings of isolation and helplessness. Although they continued to work together until the end of Elvis's life, the letters indicate that their relationship was far from the supportive partnership it once appeared to be. The tension between Presley and Parker offers a deeper understanding of the emotional and professional battles Elvis faced in his later years. Plans to walk away from showbiz. Elvis Presley's career was marked by a relentless pursuit of stardom, but his private letters reveal a man who, in his later years, longed for a quieter life away from the spotlight. Despite being one of the most successful performers in history, Elvis wrote candidly about his growing disillusionment with the entertainment industry and his desire to step away from the grueling demands of fame. These revelations, hidden from the public, offer a glimpse into the complex emotions that plagued him during his final years. In several letters to close friends and family members, Presley expressed his exhaustion with the constant touring, recording, and performing that had defined his life for decades. He admitted that the joy he once found in music and performing had diminished, replaced by a sense of obligation to his fans and financial responsibilities. Elvis wrote about feeling like he was stuck in a never-ending cycle, with little time for personal growth or reflection. He confided that he dreamed of retiring to a simpler life, away from the public eye, where he could focus on his health and well-being. One of the most poignant themes in Presley's letters is his desire for personal peace. He often wrote about his struggles with insomnia, stress, and anxiety, much of which he attributed to the pressures of his career. Despite his immense success, Elvis felt trapped by the expectations placed on him, both by his fans and the music industry. He mentioned in one letter that he wished he could walk away from it all and live a normal life, free from the constant scrutiny and demands of fame. Presley's letters also reveal that he had begun making plans for a future outside of showbiz. He wrote about wanting to spend more time with his daughter, Lisa Marie, and possibly travel the world without the burden of performing. He even expressed interest in pursuing other passions, such as spirituality and humanitarian work. These writings suggest that Elvis was contemplating a major life change, one that would have marked a dramatic departure from the life of a superstar. However, despite these plans, Presley felt torn between his desire for personal freedom and his responsibilities to his fans, family, and career. He confided in one letter that he feared disappointing those who relied on him, particularly his fans, who had supported him for so many years. This internal conflict left Elvis feeling stuck, unable to fully commit to walking away from the life he had built. While some fans have speculated that Presley may have faked his own death to escape the pressures of fame, his letters paint a more nuanced picture. They reveal a man deeply conflicted about his place in the world, torn between his love for music and his yearning for a life free from the burdens of stardom. Whether Elvis would have ultimately followed through on his plans to retire is a question that remains unanswered. But his letters offer a compelling glimpse into the private struggles of a man who, despite his fame, longed for a simpler existence. Secret health diagnoses. Elvis Presley's health issues were widely publicized in the final years of his life, but his private letters suggest that his struggles may have been far more severe than anyone realized. While the public was aware of his weight gain, heart condition, and prescription drug dependency, Presley's writings reveal that he may have been dealing with a range of other serious health problems that he kept hidden from the world. These letters offer a glimpse into the king's secret battle with illness, providing new insight into the toll it took on his physical and mental well-being. One of the most revealing aspects of Elvis's letters is his acknowledgement of his deteriorating health. He frequently wrote about his chronic fatigue, insomnia, and pain, which he attributed to a combination of stress, aging, and the physical demands of his career. However, some letters suggest that Presley had been diagnosed with additional, more serious conditions that he chose not to disclose publicly. He wrote cryptically about receiving medical advice that indicated his health was in worse shape than he had initially believed, though he refrained from going into detail about the specific diagnoses. In these letters, Presley expressed deep concern over his ability to continue performing at the level his fans expected. He confided in close friends that he feared his health issues would eventually force him to retire prematurely. Despite his best efforts to maintain his public image, Elvis's private correspondence reveals a man grappling with the reality of his declining physical state. His fears of being unable to perform at his peak weighed heavily on him, leading to feelings of frustration and despair. Another significant theme in these letters is Presley's reliance on prescription medications to manage his health issues. While his dependency on drugs was well documented, his writings suggest that he was acutely aware of the dangers posed by his medication regimen. He expressed concern over the long-term effects of the drugs he was taking, particularly their impact on his cognitive abilities and overall health. Elvis seemed to understand that his reliance on these substances was contributing to his decline, but he felt trapped in a cycle of dependency that he couldn't break free from. One of the most chilling aspects of Presley's letters is his growing awareness of his mortality. He wrote about feeling as though his body was failing him, and expressed fears that he wouldn't live to an old age. These premonitions of an early death, coupled with his secret health struggles, paint a picture of a man who may have been far sicker than the public realized. Some fans and conspiracy theorists have speculated that these letters contain clues that point to a more complex cause of death than the official report of a heart attack. Whether or not these theories hold any weight, Presley's private letters reveal a man grappling with the weight of his own mortality in the final years of his life. A secret love affair. Elvis Presley's romantic relationships were often the subject of intense public scrutiny, but his private letters hint at a secret love affair that remained hidden from the media. While his marriages and high-profile romances were well documented, these letters suggest that Elvis may have been involved in a relationship outside of his known partnerships. The letters reveal a deeply personal and emotional connection with a woman who was kept out of the public eye, offering a rare glimpse into Presley's private romantic life. In several letters, Elvis wrote about a woman he referred to in cryptic terms, describing her as someone who brought him peace and understanding during a turbulent time in his life. He expressed admiration for her intelligence, beauty, and kindness, noting that their relationship was unlike any he had experienced before. While the identity of this woman remains unclear, Presley's writings suggest that she played a significant role in his life during his final years. One of the most revealing aspects of these letters is the depth of Elvis's emotional connection to this woman. He described her as someone who understood the pressures he faced as a global icon and offered him solace when he felt overwhelmed by the demands of his career. This relationship, though kept private, seemed to provide Elvis with a sense of normalcy and comfort that he couldn't find elsewhere. He wrote about feeling a deep sense of gratitude for her presence in his life, even as he struggled with his health and personal challenges. Elvis's letters also reveal the complications that came with maintaining this secret relationship. He expressed frustration over the fact that he couldn't fully be with this woman due to his public persona and the expectations placed on him. The pressures of fame, combined with his ongoing personal struggles, made it difficult for Presley to pursue the relationship openly. In one letter, he lamented that the demands of his career and public image often forced him to sacrifice his personal happiness. While the letters stop short of revealing the full extent of the relationship, they provide tantalizing clues about a private romance that Elvis kept hidden from the world. Some fans have speculated that this secret love affair may have influenced Presley's decisions in the final years of his life, including his health choices and emotional state. Others believe that the relationship was a source of comfort for Elvis as he grappled with the pressures of fame and declining health. This hidden love affair adds yet another layer to the complex portrait of Elvis Presley's personal life. It reveals a man who, despite his public image as a heartthrob and superstar, was searching for emotional connection and understanding in a world that often left him feeling isolated. Whether this relationship would have blossomed into something more had Elvis lived longer is a question that remains unanswered. But his letters offer a rare glimpse into the private romantic life of one of the most iconic figures in music history. Elvis's private struggles with stardom. One of the most poignant secrets revealed in Elvis Presley's private letters is the immense toll fame took on his mental and emotional well-being. Despite his outward confidence and success, Elvis often felt trapped by the public image he was required to maintain. In his letters to close friends, Presley shared his deep feelings of isolation and loneliness, admitting that he felt disconnected from his authentic self. Elvis's letters reflect his yearning for normalcy, a life where he could experience the world like any other person. He envied the anonymity that most people took for granted, something he hadn't experienced since he first became a star. He often wrote about the loss of privacy and personal freedom, explaining that the price of fame was far greater than most people realized. This isolation contributed to a growing sense of detachment, where he struggled to form genuine connections with those around him. Moreover, the letters reveal that Presley felt immense pressure to live up to the expectations of his fans and critics. He feared failure, constantly worried that he might not be able to deliver the high-quality performances that his audience demanded. This burden weighed heavily on his mental health, causing him to doubt himself, despite being one of the most successful artists of all time. His letters provide a rare glimpse into the emotional struggles behind his larger-than-life persona, showing how fame can sometimes become a prison, even for those at the top. The true extent of Elvis's physical decline. Elvis's private letters offer a shocking insight into the real state of his health in the years leading up to his death. Far more than just suffering from a heart attack, Presley's correspondence reveals a man who was battling multiple serious health issues that were steadily eroding his quality of life. He often wrote candidly about his physical decline, admitting to close friends and family members that his body was failing him in ways that were both alarming and terrifying. One of the most significant health concerns Elvis discussed was his weight. He struggled with rapid and significant weight gain, which he attributed to both his poor diet and the medications he was taking. In his letters, he expressed frustration with his inability to manage his weight, which became a source of public speculation and media scrutiny. However, his weight was only one part of a much larger health crisis. Elvis also described his battle with chronic pain, insomnia, and fatigue, which were further exacerbated by his relentless touring schedule. The letters reveal that he was dependent on various medications to manage these symptoms, but he was aware that these drugs were only providing temporary relief, while possibly causing further harm. His health issues were so severe that he sometimes wondered whether he could continue performing, as the physical demands of his career were becoming too much to bear. These revelations about his deteriorating health add a tragic dimension to his life, showing that Elvis was not just a victim of his fame, but also a man whose body was slowly breaking down, even as he tried to live up to his superstar status. Dependency and addiction. One of the most startling secrets revealed in Elvis Presley's private letters is the extent of his dependency on prescription drugs. Far from being casual about his medication use, Elvis confided in close friends about his growing reliance on a range of drugs to manage his physical pain, emotional distress, and insomnia. His letters show that he was acutely aware of the danger he was in, yet felt powerless to escape the cycle of addiction that had taken over his life. Elvis began using prescription drugs in the 1960s to cope with the physical demands of his career. Over time, however, his use escalated to the point where he was regularly taking a cocktail of medications, including painkillers, sedatives, and stimulants. In his letters, Presley often expressed regret and frustration over his inability to break free from these substances. He admitted that he knew the drugs were harming his body and mind, but the relief they provided was something he couldn't easily give up. The dependency also took a toll on his personal relationships, as Elvis often felt the need to hide the full extent of his addiction from those closest to him. He wrote about how the drugs numbed him emotionally, making it harder to connect with the people he loved. This isolation only deepened his reliance on the medications, creating a vicious cycle that he struggled to break. His letters also hint at moments of clarity, where he considered seeking help to overcome his addiction. But ultimately, he felt that his life and career were too demanding to allow for such a break. This inability to seek treatment, combined with the pressures of his fame and the physical toll of his drug use, would ultimately contribute to his tragic death. Fears of death. Elvis Presley's letters also reveal a haunting premonition about his own death. Long before his passing, Elvis had an eerie sense that his life would be cut short, and he often expressed these fears in his correspondence. He frequently wrote about how he felt destined to die young, comparing himself to other celebrities who had met untimely ends, such as Marilyn Monroe and James Dean. His letters reflect a man who felt his life was spiraling out of control, and this sense of doom seemed to weigh heavily on him. In some of his letters, Elvis even spoke of death as if it were inevitable, almost accepting the idea that he wouldn't live to old age. He wrote about his belief in fate and how he thought certain people were meant to burn brightly but briefly. This fatalistic outlook seemed to permeate many aspects of his life, affecting his decisions about his health, career, and personal relationships. His letters also reveal moments of deep reflection, where Elvis considered his legacy and what he would leave behind. He seemed torn between wanting to continue performing and feeling that his time was running out. His premonitions of death were not only emotional but physical, as his declining health fueled his belief that he wouldn't live much longer. Elvis's fears of an early death add a chilling layer to his life story, suggesting that he may have sensed his own mortality long before his passing. These fears, coupled with his health struggles and addiction, paint a picture of a man who felt trapped by his circumstances and was haunted by the knowledge that his time was limited. Was there more to Elvis's death? Perhaps the most controversial aspect of Elvis Presley's private letters is the possibility that they contain clues to a hidden truth about his death. While the official cause of death was listed as a heart attack, some fans and conspiracy theorists believe that Presley's letters suggest there was more to the story. These writings have fueled speculation that the king's death was not as straightforward as it seemed, with some even suggesting that he may have faked his own death to escape the pressures of fame. Elvis's letters contain cryptic passages where he alludes to feeling trapped by his life and career, and some fans have interpreted these writings as evidence that he was planning to disappear. Others point to the inconsistencies in the official reports of his death, combined with the revelations in his letters about his health and addiction, as proof that something more sinister may have occurred. While there is no concrete evidence to support these theories, the fact that Elvis's letters raise so many questions has kept the speculation alive. His letters suggest that he was a man under immense pressure, dealing with a myriad of health problems and emotional struggles. Whether these letters contain hidden secrets about his death or are simply the reflections of a troubled individual is something that continues to captivate fans and conspiracy theorists alike. These final clues, combined with the mystery that has always surrounded Elvis's life and death, have made his private letters a key part of the enduring fascination with the king of rock and roll. For those seeking answers, these letters may be the closest glimpse into the truth. But for now, the full story of Elvis Presley's death remains shrouded in mystery.